Thanks for joining me. I'm Charlotte Smith here with Mr. Dennis Troy. He's going to explain to us what it was like to serve in the United States Air Force. Mr. Troy currently serves as a member of the National Association Community College Board of Trustees. He's also the chairperson of the Bladen Community College Board of Trustees, a deacon at Pleasant Grove Union Missionary Baptist Church in East Arcadia, an active member of the Bladwin branch male choir. Thank you for joining me today, Mr. Troy. Can you tell us what Memorial Day means to you?
It's a good question, and thanks for asking me that, Charlotte Smith, and thanks for giving me an opportunity. What it means to me as a veteran that went in service in 1970 in the U.S. Air Force. I was drafted at the time, my number was 35. For some reason, being Dennis, at that time, Vietnam War was going, and folks was coming home dead after they had went in service for a little time. So I asked my recruiter, could I take a test for something else? Give me an opportunity to take the Air Force test, and I passed it. So I went in the U.S. Air Force as a veteran in 1970.
And whenever you said that you have served in Korea.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I will. Leaving Raleigh and going into San Antonio first, my first assignment, and they sent me different places in Texas for training. And after a year in Texas, I ended up in Austin, Texas. From there, my assignment overseas was Korea, Osan, Korea, as a med technician on flying status for SAC, company named SACs, some big, bad airplanes. I was one medic. If the plane went up, you had to have me on there as a medical technician to be on that plane when you went on flying status.
Okay.
So I was in Korea. What an experience. Korea was like a world that you would never know. But I experienced all kinds of things there. Couldn't sleep at night, real scared. I wasn't familiar with that. We was maybe 2 or 3 hours from Seoul, Korea, and if you heard the news right lately, you see where with this virus, they just let those soldiers come back out in South Korea, where Seoul was. That was the biggest army base. Well, I was on a Air Force base, we call it Osan, maybe 2 hours from there. Small base compared to Seoul. But if something happened to a GI on that base, it would be my responsibility first, especially if they was sick, got hurt, accident, or whatever, baby was born, wee hours of the night. It was my job to put them in an ambulance, take them to Seoul, Korea. That was an experience that nobody could understand but me when I'm out there by myself, and you had to come to road gates that had guards and guns that let me through at night by myself with no protection. God blessed me to get through that. I did that for a whole year, lived that life for a whole year. If anything medical happened with any GI on base, me being a technician working in the emergency room, I might be the first one to see them before I would call my doctor in. So I had a great experience.
You worked in the EMS field while in the Air Force, and this happens to be EMS Appreciation Week. What would you say to those people in the field working in EMS now during the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic?
My heart go out to them because they understand, just like when I first went in service, you was on a mission, and your mission was whatever it was, and you couldn't back off it. You had to go. And that's what's happening with our service, with our medical folks now. This one is first line, the one that's on the line. They gotta go. And they are committed. And they got my heart because they are doing great things now with this virus. And they saving lives. And that was one of their commissions when they went to that position. I'm proud of them and what they do.
Some of them obtain their education here at Bladen Community College. Is that correct?
That's correct. And just in that alone, I can recall being a vet, going to the VA hospital, and a young lady was taking my blood. And I questioned the young lady. I said, where did you go to school? And she said, Bladen Community College. Being a chairman of the board, and when you can go for medical condition and service and a Bladen Community College student help you, hey, that's a great feeling. I commend them for what they do.
Now, talking about going to the VA and services that you receive as a veteran yourself, do you see any gaps in services or in community relations for veterans?
I see big gaps, and I can relate to that myself. When you go for services, and the service, how do you access those services and benefits? Well, we don't have folks that come out and help us with that. So you got to be very aggressive. You got to know who to go to, service reps all over in different counties. Or you go to the VA, you got to be aggressive and asking for help on benefits and services. Because if you don't get that or don't have the right folks around you to show you that, you will never reach the benefits that you should have gotten. And the reason I say that, and it's hard on my heart, when I think about my father, who was a World War II veteran that never used the VA and was never told how to use the VA and never used any benefits from being a military World War II veteran. So that runs deep in my soul. So we need more service reps out there. When we think about American Legion, we need more folks out there helping veterans access those benefits and let them know they qualify for them, because they do. They served the country. They died for the U.S. flag, and they need to know how to access those benefits, which we don't get enough service on.
And so veterans should reach out to the VA in Fayetteville?
Definitely, VA in Fayetteville. Now we got one in Wilmington. We got one in Lumberton, and you got service reps. I think should be in every county. You could even go through the unemployment or security office. You got sometimes veterans coming through there to help veterans. But American Legions, and there's one strong group that helps veterans. But you got to be aggressive. You got to push it, and because the access to that service is not ready available.
Okay. And before we close, can you tell me of an instance that you have witnessed that makes Memorial Day important to you?
Yes, I can. In Korea, where my position was working in the emergency room, I wanted to be a physician assistant, really, and I changed my career. But over there, where they would let me do everything a doctor would do by being a medical personnel in the emergency room before the doctor came. Well, a lot of times it'd be big crashes out there where we had to go out and pick up a veteran. Or we had to go downtown in the hoosh where a veteran died and pick him up, send him home. You're talking about a time where it's really hurtful when you got to go and get one of your brothers who you knew real well that died because he was on a motorcycle and hit a wall. And you got to pick him up and service him the best way you can medically, and then you have to end up sending him home. So when it comes to a veterans celebration, we're talking about Memorial Day, and you go to the graveyard, and you can go visit a brother that you was with, and you know he served, but he didn't come back home. And you wonder why, God, that you took his life and didn't take your life when you was right there with him. I seen a lot of that being in the medical field where I worked. And you talk about mentally, physically, and emotional, how it gets to your mind. You just thank God for giving you the strength to continue to go and do what you have to do the right way.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell the public about your career or about Bladen Community College, anything that you think is important?
Yes, I would. Where I sit at this school, I often talk about, as the chairman of the board, or being a trustee, or just being a part of it, I often talk about God, education, if you want to be successful. And I believe that, and I know that work because of the GI Bill that sent Dennis Troy to Fayetteville State University. If it weren't for the GI Bill, I wouldn't have a degree in social and criminal justice today. It paid my apartment defense, it paid my tuitions. That's a benefit that you can get by being in service. A lot of veterans have moved forward based on that. So I tell the young folks, and we live in a world now where young folks, you talk about Memorial Day and celebration, family celebration parade, they don't focus in like the older generation did. But it's an opportunity for them to come in and get skills that they'll never get in their life as far as employment, medical, and education. It did so much for folks look like me to go in the U.S. Air Force or U.S. service and get skills that can help you come out in civilian life and do good. So I thank the service for that connection with me and to put me in the right path to go forward and do the things I think God wants me to do. So I thank the VA for that.
Okay. I want to ask, you gave me a picture of you in Korea. Can you tell me what you were doing in that picture? Can you tell me a bit about it?
Yes, ma'am. I can remember it so well. I get tired of sitting inside of the medical building, and the ambulance was outside, so I come out and I sit on the ambulance outside just looking over the yard and seeing what's going on. Now you see me sitting on the ambulance, but just imagine this. It could be 2 o'clock in the evening and a warhead falls off, and I'll be the only one to have to drive up to where a bomb falls off with the military MPs and the medical team, which would be me driving, to go and rescue a bum. What kind of mindset is that? But I was like the first liners today, the ones on the line, you have to go. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting out there ready to go. I'm all Army, I'm all Air Force, no matter what. I've been brought by the military, and I got to go. I give it up. I give myself up to be a soldier. I was one of them. They took me from my mom and dad, and my mom and dad was military. Mm-hmm. I was ready to go.
So your parents were in the military as well?
They wasn't in the military, but when I left home to go in service, when I got in San Antonio, and a soldier came to that plane and told me, he said, "Now I'm your daddy." Oh. From that point on, I had another daddy, and I was worked into being a real soldier for 2 years, 7 months, and about 28 days in the U.S. Air Force. I was all soldier. I give it up. Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate your time.
But I want to say to the young folks, there's an opportunity to be successful through education, and I push community college. And there's an opportunity to go forward in this world if you go in the military. It'll put you in a track that you can learn a skill and be educated, that you can come out here and do great things in this world. So that's a track that you can buy into. Mm-hmm. I bought into it. And I thank God for the time that He gave me in it, motivated me to be who I am today, coming out of East Arcadia, North Carolina.
So, anything else that you'd like to share?
Look up to God, stand up to opportunities, and never, never, never give up.
Thank you, Mr. Troy.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Okay.
Again, this is Dennis Troy, and I want this to be. I grew up in East Arcadia, North Carolina, about 25 miles east of Elizabethtown. Is where I was raised at down there. But coming out of East Arcadia, I had the opportunity to go to the U.S. Air Force. And this is an experience that I have had that is deep in my heart. In San Antonio, Texas, where I was stationed at, where I was in training, one of my jobs every day, I think it was 5, to take the flag down. And I am committed to supporting the flag. And this is the reason why. Day is gone, gone the sun, and I will listen to that every day and cry when I take the flag down and fold it up. So you're looking at a person a veteran who have been in the military that support the flag. Because so many, you talked about Memorial Day, so many soldiers died for that flag. It'll make me almost cry. And I thank you for giving this opportunity for me to express that.
Yes, sir, thank you.